Hello, everyone. My name's Glen James. I'm the host of My Millennial Money podcast, and this is
John Pidgeon.
my co-host.
Yes.
However, I thought I would interview John today about the work he's doing with Envisage Property. Now, how did this come about?
Yes, thank you, Glenn. Let's have a chat about this. So, as you know, I've been property investing for 20 years and I've been coaching clients in property for probably the last 8 or 10 of those. What I've been experiencing is we work with all different types of people, all age groups, all different types of strategies, new, old, etc., etc. And I find that I wanted to create a situation where if someone's going to buy their own home or build their own home, either as an owner-occupier or an investment, there's a lot of do's and don'ts out there. So why I created Envisage Property was to, I suppose, work on their behalf to cut all that stuff out, similar to a mortgage broker on behalf of the client when looking for loans.
So it's almost like when I see a traditional mortgage broker, I go in and say, these are my needs. Can you help me find the most appropriate lender or bank based on my circumstances and the parameters that I've got?
Yeah.
We're doing the same for house and land packages, basically.
Correct. Yeah. Anywhere. Well, when I say anywhere, in a lot of places around the country. So they might come with land already purchased and say, right, we want to choose the best builder for our scenario, and we would go and do the research on their behalf and come back to them with shortlist.
And present some options.
Or they might say, right, we want to do house and land in a particular area, and we do both of that type of research for them. Or they might just say, well, we want an investment property. We know we want to build new as an investment strategy. Go and do your work in areas where we think there'll be growth.
So practically speaking, I want a house and land package, for example, or I've got the parcel of land and I need to find a builder. You go, Glen, you want 3-bed, 2-bath, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And then you go away and say, all right, builder A, B, and C. A and B, they're straight up fixed price, X amount.
Yeah.
That will include everything.
Yes.
Builder C, they kind of have a tack-on package, so it's a bit how long's a piece of string.
Yeah.
So if you want more certainty, lead towards A and B, and if A and B looks the most appealing, now go and choose what design and flavour you want with B, because we think that's the most bang for buck.
Yeah, that's right. It's actually a good point. Just quickly, there's usually retail and wholesale. So when you're working retail, mums and dads off the street that want to design their own home and use that builder, it's almost like starting from scratch in the design process and inclusions, etc. Whereas the wholesale will be, here are our 5, 6, 8 designs, pick from one of these and then pick your inclusions and away you go. So we're probably focusing more on the second one than we are the first one, because the first one is, the retail is more very individualized towards that person. They're putting the work in to choose a design.
Yeah. And so in terms of Envisage's clients, who are you looking to work with the most, and who can you add the most value to?
Yeah, so we do a lot of owner-occupier, so someone that wants to build their own home in the area of their choice. We work with a lot of first home buyers. We work with a lot of investors, so someone that might want to add that strategy to their portfolio that aren't so fussed with where they're going to do that around the country, or want to do it interstate because they might identify a growth area but not know the logistics of how that will work and the contacts to be able to do that or make that happen in that particular state.
You said it before, but I don't need to be just in New South Wales where you are.
Correct. Yeah, no, any major area around the country. So we research by top 30 population cities and towns around the country. The only exception to that in this case would be if someone says, well, I want to go and build a house in Town City that's number 60 on the list. That's their personal choice. We would do our best to accommodate that.
And I know, for example, I've personally just referred some friends to you so you can help them because they're in Melbourne. They want to maybe live out of town to get some grants for 12 months or so.
Yes.
Then kind of spring back into the city and then keep an investment property.
Yeah.
So I guess you will distill the data more so if someone is looking at an investment strategy, but also in this kind of current climate with the grants that are out there and whatnot, we kind of have to overlay the two strategies, don't we? Because you want to live there for a year at least,
That's
maybe.
right. Yeah.
So it needs to stack up to live in, but also we've done the numbers on the back end of it to look at, is it okay for an investment property?
That's right. Yeah. And not to dilute the Solvair client that deals with us on a daily basis. That's a very personalised service. But organically, what we'll do with these people is to look at their overall strategy and just see that it all stacks up to begin with. So that includes the attractive grants that are on offer at the moment and how they're going to make that work in conjunction with their cash flow for holding that property, etc.
So why would I use, I guess, Envisage Property in your team, because you do have a team behind you doing this, as opposed to going it alone?
Yeah, good question. So I've been doing that for the last 15 to 20 years as part of my individual strategy. Obviously, different strategies at different times, but that's been definitely one of them. The second part is we do a lot of work on behalf of them because they have maybe not the time or the experience to know what to look for, right? Again, referring back to the mortgage broker, similar with the knowing what loans are out there, we know maybe what builders to steer clear of, and more importantly, when we're looking at land, what land areas we want to refrain from because of they might be highly investor populated as opposed to owner occupier.
Do you only use one home builder or one builder?
No, we definitely shortlist a number of builders, and we don't exclusively choose one. Well, ultimately we do choose one, but we don't just say
you don't shortlist one.
Yeah, because technically speaking, 30 areas around the country, builders aren't going to build in all those areas anyway. So we do need to do a lot of research.
So if I'm out there and I want to possibly buy a house and land package or build, and I want to engage your services, what are the costs?
Yep, good question. So $550 is our engagement or commitment fee from the client that says, yep, we're committed to this. We're going to allow you to now go and do your research in the area or the brief that they've given us, and then away we go and then shortlist it back to them for them to ultimately choose what they want. And we'll manage that process right through to completion when they're either living in the property or they're renting it out to someone. Yeah.
So I guess in terms of, obviously you put a lot of work in and a lot of hours. That $550 is just more of a commitment fee.
Yep.
But much like a mortgage broker, whoever you find for the customer, the builder will be paying you a remuneration because basically they don't have to pay one of their sales team to do all that work, where you're not really selling a particular builder, but at least you've got a panel of builders and you can make the work for them easier.
Yeah, correct. The elephant in the room, of course, is we're working on behalf of the client, not the builder. So we're not exclusive to one builder, any land estate, etc. It's generically looking to see what's going to be best for the client. And obviously, the end builder that they choose, they pay us a marketing fee to obviously bring the client to them, but there's no incentive, larger or smaller, to do that.
So I guess finally, the real pointy end of the deal, like obviously you've got no idea about design and colours because that's not your thing, obviously. But so what if I like a particular floor plan or I've looked online and I like that shape of the house, but that builder that you've researched for the customer might be on the expensive side or not as good value.
Yeah.
How do we manage, like particularly if I want to live in the home myself, it's like, yeah, it's cool that we save $40,000 with this builder, but it looks like a polished turd.
Yeah.
So how do we manage that?
Yeah, good question. I think what's going to happen organically, which has been happening, is we might present three options to the client and they'll discount maybe two of them as a result of that, which would eliminate majority of that. But there will be some dealings direct with the builder from the client's point of view where they may need to get into the nitty-gritty of that. Or they may need to change a few things. So, yeah.
So your team is high level. You want to do this. Your team talks about strategy and goes, yeah, that area, we think it's a goer based on your situation.
Yeah.
We've shortlisted these 3 builders. These are the long and the short of it. I think if you liked one of those particular styles, we can head down that path a little bit more.
That's right.
And then when they want to commit, at what point do you hands off and it goes to conveyances or contracts?
Yeah, so we're never really totally hands off. We're always hands on with them, but we'll say, right, let's engage with builder now, look over the build contract, sign the build contract, happy with that. In terms of inclusions, if you need to alter anything, let's go direct to them and work out with them what it is that's going to work for you, and let's sign off on that and be happy with that.
So the other elephant in the room, it's like I want my kitchen to have, a green subway tile and all that, because that's a big priority for a lot of people. Like it's a house I want to live in. I want it to look a certain way.
Yeah.
At what point can we start actually choosing that stuff? How high in the process or at the top of the process? When does that kind of get nailed, the actual choice?
Yeah, it obviously needs to be nailed pretty early on in the process because they don't want to start constructing and then change things. But that's where the wholesale retail conversation comes in early days. So we'd be looking at, well, how much would you potentially want to have involvement with this? And if it is a larger element of involvement, then the retail builder is probably going to work best for you where you can design it from the ground up, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Hey, there's I think it's a really cool thing that you guys are doing because, even when I bought my first home, it wasn't a off the plan or a build. It was crazy enough. So I think it's great if you've got a team in your corner just to walk with you in an unbiased way.
Yeah, it's and it's so common for Australians to want to build homes for some reason. They like the feel of new, or tax accountant might say great depreciation. So it is a common one, and I just saw a lot of it going on that I wasn't happy with in the industry in terms of going into inferior land estates or oversupply of investors in there, or bad experiences with builder, or builders going broke, or all the horror stories that people hear. Now, they're not as common as you think, but they do happen. So I suppose we're working with them to avoid all of those, number one, but then number two, get a fantastic experience.
And I think the biggest thing I saw when I was a financial advisor, I did talk to clients about this stuff, but, they'd signed the dotted line with the builder. Everything was great. Oh, by the way, there's a stump on the block that needs to be removed. It's an extra 10 grand.
That's right.
So it's like, well, we need to have those discussions before we're signing anything.
Yeah.
To be just very sure what's included when you engage that builder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that comes down to lending as well, because banks will only lend on the contract price.
That's right. And quickly, lending, at what part of the process do you start chatting to the Envisage clients about lending and serviceability? And do you just refer them to a mortgage broker if they don't know, if they don't have one already?
Yeah, so generally speaking, we do that anyway. So if someone needs a mortgage broker or a conveyancer or whoever it is on their team, then we can obviously put them in contact with someone in any state. But if they already have them in their team already, fantastic. We continue with that. And
just you mentioned before, you've got another business, Solvair Wealth. So from what I'm hearing is, the Solvair Wealth clients, it is I've engaged John, ongoing coaching strategy. We want to do X, Y, and Z over this amount of time.
Yes.
Where the Envisage business model is maybe a little bit more transactional. We want to do this. Help us, okay, and then we move on and
on our way.
Yeah,
totally.
Sure.
Yeah,
No
totally
worries.
Different model, and not a question of catering this one to feed the other type scenario. They're very separate.
So there you go. If you are interested in getting some information from John and the team about the Envisage Property process, fill out the details probably below this video, and all that you've really got to do is, if you've worked out that it is something you want to do, that $550 commitment fee, it just means, we do want to commit to this process, because like anything, there has to be a commitment because it shows that you are keen to do something. And, if John and the team say, okay, well, we need you to put these 3 things together.
Yeah.
Don't whinge in 3 months if it isn't done because you've been slack in getting. So there's a responsibility. So I guess that's one part with the commitment fee as well.
Yeah,
is to
totally.
step up to the plate and let's do this.
Yeah, there's a bit of hurt money involved in there. But look, in 3 months' time, if they feel, look, this isn't for us, then we've done the work, they've paid a fee, and we part on good terms without having transacted. But that's the world.
Love it. All right. Thanks for watching, and thanks, John, for explaining that.
Thank you, Glenn.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.